I was just out on one of my normal nature journaling routes and I just suddenly felt inspired to just hop on here and talk to you a little bit about nature journaling and what it can actually do for you. So the first thing is that nature journaling gives us an excuse to actually go outside. If we have a nature journaling practice that we want to do regularly, sometimes that is one of the best incentives to actually go out. It can be difficult to find a reason sometimes when you're feeling a bit low or you don't feel like you have enough time in the day to actually get outside. It can feel difficult to really want to do that. So sometimes having something actually scheduled into your day that you're going to do, even for just 10 minutes, I need to go for my walk and I need to do a few little jottings, that can be enough of an incentive to get outside. This is particularly important for people who, say, don't have a dog or some other reason that they're going outside regularly. Perhaps you work in the city or live in the city and you just need that little bit of a kick to get out somewhere nice and green and beautiful like this. Nature journaling can do that for you. If you could just say to yourself, well, I'm going to try 2 or 3 times a week to get outside and note something down for 10 minutes a time, that is something. That is more than something, and it's more than enough. The second thing that nature journaling can do for you is improve your skills, not just your art skills, but also your skills at identification, noticing, visual memory, writing, composition, layout, all of these things. But the wonderful thing about nature journaling is that developing those skills isn't the actual be-all and end-all of the process, of the reason for nature journaling. It's just a byproduct of doing the thing. The more that we do it and the more that we are working on that process of just going out and doing it, the collateral of allowing ourselves to just go out and practice is that all of these skills will actually naturally develop on their own. It only becomes more difficult or more strained when you're more focused on the outcome. You're more focused on, I want to get something out of nature journaling. I want to get my skills developed. The beautiful thing about it is that it is something that you can just naturally do and just fit into your day and enjoy doing. And yet all of these skills will slowly manifest in you. When I first started nature journaling 10 years ago, I didn't know the trees and plants and birds that were around here. I'd moved from a very different part of the country, and it was actually just through sitting and drawing and painting them that I came to know them. And it's not just knowing them, it is really knowing them. It is for a plant, for example, you know what it looks like when it first comes out the ground. You know what its leaves look like, what it looks like when it flowers, what it looks like when it goes to seed, and what it looks like when it dies away, because you're continually visiting the same places over and over again through the years and recording the changes that are happening. So you become very familiar with what is around you, and you become very familiar with how to describe it and how to notice the changes that are happening between days, between weeks, between seasons, and between years. So it's very special in that sense. It really gives you a very close relationship with your local area. So as you do it, your skills will develop. In terms of art skills, I recommend that you take some lessons, and I have a wonderful website called the Nature Journaling Circle where I have regular online Zoom classes, so you could check that out. There is also a link in the description to my mailing list where you can get some freebies to get yourself started with some nature journaling. Now, another wonderful thing that happens when you start nature journaling is you start to find some space in your life. And it all depends really on how you start and what you set as your intention and your goal with doing journaling. The main thing about journaling itself is that it's the process of doing it and not the product, not the end result, that is important. And if you can adopt this mindset in your nature journaling, you will find that this mindset will then start to extend to other parts of your life as well. You'll start to find more enjoyment in the process of doing something than in the outcome or the result. Another thing that nature journaling can do is, if a whole bunch of people are out there recording and looking for changes and noticing changes, we will build up a picture of what is actually happening in lots of people's local areas. The thing is, not that many people are paying that much attention to what is happening at the local scale. And if we as nature journalists can build up that picture, it's going to create a record that's really valuable, particularly if you're able to, through citizen science projects or volunteering, really get the information out there to people who have a ability to then make changes in relation to what you're seeing. So as an example of this, I've been involved in water monitoring in my local area, and I'm involved in a local conservation group. And firstly, because I've been doing the nature journaling, I was more inspired to actually go and get involved locally, making a difference. But also I've been finding that sharing my knowledge from the nature journaling has improved schemes and contributed to things in the local area actually happening to make those differences. Creativity is really good for us, and carving out the time to actually be creative can be difficult. But if we have a hobby that requires us to go out and just create just for a little while each day or a few times a week, that can really build up our creativity over time. And because creativity works on parts of our brain that's very different from everyday life, we can start to actually balance out our moods and just our mental states much more easily. And that really is just because we are exercising the parts of the brain that take us into focus, creation, and are not in the kind of fight or flight nervous parts of the brain that are switched on very often in our everyday lives. So the more that we can actually practice being creative outdoors or inspired by the outdoors, the better. I think what's really special about nature journaling is it's that combination of both getting outside regularly and creating regularly and doing so in a kind of slow and more analog way. All of that stuff together can have the most amazing effects on our minds. Now, on a personal level, it has worked for me in so many parts of my life. When I first started nature journaling, I had come out of a high pressure job and I was spending far too much time at my desk, at the computer, which was having very negative isolational effects on my brain. I was getting quite sort of nervous about just being out and involved in both outside of the house in nature and also in the community and socializing with people. And what has happened is I've gone from that very shy behind the desk person to a person who is now talking to you on YouTube, who does regular public speaking and is able to teach confidently as well. And so much of that has come through just regularly getting outside and just interacting with the world outside of the four walls of my house in a way that is still calm and suitable for someone who is quite introverted and quiet. A lot of time being spent on your own in that, I guess you'd call it solitude, but not loneliness, just time on your own to be creative and reflect on things, then can give you that space to feel a little bit more confident when you're actually out engaging with people. So it was that incentive to actually get outside and get involved into stuff that made the difference. And the final benefit that I want to talk to you about today in this video is the mindfulness benefit. And I think that developed for me hand in hand with my Buddhist practice and yoga practice. I've been an Ashtanga yoga practitioner for 11 years now and a Buddhist practitioner for about 8 years. And nature journaling sits in the middle there at about 10 years. And I think that all three of these practices have had the most impact on how my mind works and how I feel when I have something come up. It gives you that little bit of extra space because you've been practicing that time in a kind of a mindful state of being aware of how you're feeling and being aware of where you are in the world and how you fit into it. When something comes up that is scary or makes you nervous, you are better placed to deal with it because you're less likely to immediately clench up and go off into what for me usually turns into an anxiety spiral. So I think that's all that I'm going to talk about today in this kind of what nature journaling can do for me video. There are many more things that it can do for you, and I would love to hear maybe some of you, if you already nature journal and there's things that it's done for you, please just say in the comments. Tell me your stories. Tell me how nature journaling has affected you, inspired you, and hopefully anybody new reading those comments and listening to my story today will be inspired to perhaps give this a little bit of a try in your own life. Like I said before, there's loads of resources on my website. Make sure you get signed up to my mailing list to hear about the upcoming things that are going to be happening. I have a webinar, a completely free webinar coming up in about a month, and the mailing list will be first to hear about how to sign up for the place at that free webinar. So please do make sure you sign up for that. Get the free nature journaling guide with a first nature journaling exercise for you to try. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.